If you think we put too much power in the hands of juries today, you are not going to believe where it all started. I'm Brian. I make videos about civics and law. Please share this video, repost it, comment on it, all that stuff so people will get out and see it, because this stuff is important and we need to learn about our law and our government, and this is how we do it. The English legal system was already basically implemented when we formed the United States, so we pretty much just left it in place, and we still use most of it today. So a lot of the names are the same, a lot of the procedures are the same, and have been around for almost 1,000 years. In fact, we can look to a very specific act in 1166 by King Henry II that created the Assizes of Clarendon, which were these courts that really were the roots of our current court system. But what's really funny is to look and see what was there before he created that new court system. Because there was still, in some ways, kind of an idea that like two people would come together and challenge who had the greater right to certain things, but it was decided in some different way. A trial by battle, for example, is exactly what it sounded like. Two people on either side of a claim would fight until one of them died, and whoever lived won the case. A trial by ordeal, which was usually used in criminal cases, was where someone would appeal to God, essentially, to save their life, and they would be put under some sort of physical pressure that was definitely going to kill them, and if they survived, it was said that God had intervened because they were innocent. So Henry II coming in and creating this court system was really pretty popular because it replaced these other systems that were maybe not what you'd call traditional notions of justice. And this gives rise to two major things. One is the writ, which I'm going to do in a whole other video because writs are a huge deal, they're very important, and we still definitely use them today. The second is the jury, because the trial by battle and the trial by ordeal were essentially replaced, at least slowly, by the trial by jury. But the jury was not the same thing that we see today. Remember that the king is still a king. The king has complete control over everything and gets to do and say whatever he wants. So in a case, the king, or someone speaking for the king, would call on people who were familiar with the case, what we would call today probably witnesses. And those people would come in and they would be the jurors. They would go speak about what they knew. Sometimes they would even be sent home to gather more information and brought back. But then at the end, they would also weigh in on whether the person won or not. So when we say jury of your peers, I mean, this was literally the jury of the people that you knew in your village that lived around you and were really involved in the case. Today, in a jury, we want the witnesses to come in and present what they saw to a group of people who know nothing about the case and have them judge whether the witnesses' stories make sense, line up, whatever. But early jurors were often chosen specifically by the king, or whoever was speaking for the king, to allow for a certain decision to come one way or the other. Let's just say the king or the king's people had already decided who they wanted to win at that point. It was also a way for the king to just randomly bring people into court and testify about things that the king wanted to hear about. The crazy thing is that the courts of assize, which were set up by this Act of Assize in 1166, were in operation until 1972 in England, when they were finally totally replaced. So that's how we end up with our modern jury. It's a really interesting transition, I think, from the days of a trial by battle into a trial by jury, but it is kind of interesting to see how we go along a pretty straight path for about 1,000 years. And I'm going to present something about writs too soon because they're also very interesting. They also started around this time, and we also still use them very much today. So keep watching, and I will keep making them. If you guys want to support me, there are ways to do it in my link tree. Thank you very much.